Welcome to This Explainer. Today we're taking a deep dive into a deeply contemplative, honestly, super relevant piece of modern philosophy. In a world that constantly screams at us to do more, be more, and have more, what if the absolute ultimate form of success is actually found in choosing less? That's the fascinating premise we're unpacking today, looking at a thought-provoking piece of writing titled Content Minority.
Better silent than in Dragnet. Let those words just sink in for a second. It's a powerful hook, isn't it? It immediately sets this reflective tone and really asks us to pause. A dragnet is literally a trap, a net pulled through a river to indiscriminately catch whatever happens to be in its path. So to the author, being caught up in the chaotic, noisy trap of society is far worse than simply remaining quiet. It's a striking opening to a worldview that completely flips our standard definitions of ambition and peace right on their head.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Meet Oluyomi Oladevid.
To truly grasp the meaning of the poem, we first need to understand her. This is her official logo, representing her personal brand and her mission. She is a thinker, deeply invested in generating solutions and influencing policy. Everything she writes is filtered through her unique lens of wanting to provide clarity to a confusing world. When she points out the flaws in our societal norms, she isn't doing it out of cynicism, right? She's doing it because her ultimate goal is global development and transformation. In her personal bio, she proudly states, "I am a Nigerian and I love people." She also anchors her perspective really heavily in her faith, explaining that her Father God owns and rules the universe, and acts as the wheel within my wheels. It's incredibly clear that her strong spiritual foundation and her profound love for humanity are the driving forces behind her work. Her observations about society aren't just casual critiques. They're deeply rooted in her belief that there is a higher, much more purposeful way for people to live.
Section 2. Decoding the content minority.
And this brilliantly illustrates the central juxtaposition that frames her entire argument. On one side, we have the content minority. At first glance, these seem like negative states, right? Being silent, being nameless, being absent. But on the flip side, we have the noisy majority, representing seemingly positive, highly sought-after states that she actually reveals to be traps. She argues that finding true peace and having less is vastly superior to being trapped by the dangerous illusion of having more.
She categorizes these traps into what we can think of as the worry wagon of the modern world. Society pushes us toward fame, but she calls it fame on a fizzy mount, totally unstable and ready to erupt. We're pushed toward wealth, but she warns of riches from a lying brood. We're pushed toward constant education and awareness, but she completely exposes the dangers of false knowledge and the classroom of a greedy dog. These are the recurring themes representing the dangerous illusions society tirelessly chases after.
Which brings us to Section 3, the illusion of success. Look at this comparison. Better nameless than in fame on a fizzy mount. Think about the massive pressure we all feel to be recognized, to build a platform, to be known. She slows us right down here. She contrasts the absolute safety and quiet of obscurity, just being nameless, against the perilous instability of modern fame. A fizzy mount implies something bubbling, volatile, and ultimately hollow. She's asking us, is the anxiety of maintaining that fame really worth sacrificing your peace?
Now, what's really interesting here is her take on wealth and success. Better fruitless than in riches of a lying brood. In our culture, to be fruitless is considered a massive failure. Nobody wants that. But she's making a profound argument. She suggests that an honest failure, a completely fruitless endeavor done with integrity, is infinitely superior to wealth built on deceit. She prefers the dignity of having absolutely nothing over the compromise of ill-gotten riches. And she pushes this visual extreme even further, saying, better naked than in rags on a royal street. It's an incredible metaphor. She's showing us that pure authenticity, even when it leaves you completely vulnerable and exposed, literally naked, is better than a fabricated, hypocritical status. Walking down a royal street means absolutely nothing if what you're wearing is just rags of pretense. Authenticity wins over proximity to power every single time in her philosophy.
Section 4. Dangers of false comfort.
Better homeless than in comfort on a wolf's couch. Honestly, this is arguably the most striking metaphor in the entire text. It perfectly captures the danger of accepting comfort from predatory sources. A wolf might offer you a soft couch. It might look like a safe place to rest, but the cost is your life. She's warning us that sometimes the hardest path, being metaphorically homeless or without shelter, is the absolutely only way to avoid being consumed by those who use comfort to control you.
She then targets the modern obsession with constant information. Better ignorant than in awareness of a false knowledge. We live in an era where we're terrified of missing out on the news, the trends, the latest data. But she challenges this head-on. She suggests that knowing absolutely nothing, blissful ignorance, is mathematically safer than filling your mind with lies. Believing false knowledge leads to disastrous decisions. Ignorance at least leaves you with a blank slate.
Which leads to this stark comparison. Better foolish than in classroom of a greedy dog. I want you to reflect on this for a moment. Think about where you get your own information. Who are your teachers? Are they genuinely trying to educate you, or do they have ulterior motives? Are they a greedy dog looking to profit off your attention, your clicks, your allegiance? She's arguing that it's way better to be considered a fool by society than to be successfully indoctrinated by someone whose only goal is greed.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 5, the Ant Philosophy. Here she introduces us to what she calls the Ants class. It's a colorful illustration that invites us to stop over at Ants class and notes that admission is ongoing all year round. It's a lighthearted visual, sure, but the lesson she's imparting here is incredibly weighty. She's using the ant, which is a universal symbol of diligence and teamwork, to teach us the ultimate life lesson about exactly how we spend our energy. So the crucial point is the distinction she makes between willing work and forced labor. Willing work is purposeful, chosen effort. It's work aligned with your values, done with intention, much like the ants building their colony. Forced labor, on the other hand, is perilous, mandatory toil. It's the exhausting grind of trying to keep up with the noisy majority, chasing the fizzy mounds on the wolf's couches we just talked about. This is her ultimate metric for a well-lived life. And this brings us to the true climax of her poem, better jobless than in peril of a forced labor. She views the total absence of work as completely preferable to the soul-crushing reality of forced labor. If your job, your ambitions, or your lifestyle are putting you in peril, morally, mentally, or spiritually, she's saying you are better off walking away entirely. The content minority is willing to be jobless if the alternative costs them their soul. Which leaves us with this final provocative thought. Look at your own life, your own goals, and your own daily grind. Are you exhausted from chasing the noisy majority? Are you tired of the fizzy mounts, the lying broods, and the wolf's couches? Or are you ready to embrace the quiet, to redefine success on your own terms, and to finally find peace in the content minority? It's a heavy question, but perhaps the most important one you can ask yourself today. Take that with you and keep questioning the norms.